G'day guys, Gordon here with Guardians of Freedom. Been a while since I've posted a video. I've started a new job and it's been real busy for the last 2 weeks, and I'm hoping to get more work done in the evenings once things settle down. So just want to say, I'm still here, and yeah, we're still growing strong. So Guardians of Freedom now, I think we've got about 5,500 members between MeWe and Facebook. So keep sharing, guys. It's going well. If we all share, we're going to get to our big numbers that we need. So if everyone can keep sharing, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. The other thing I just want to say is, really I want to talk about the coercion and the tactics being used to confuse people. I've been still following the news, as I always do, because the news is a little bit of a blueprint of what is being planned and what's coming out. I'll talk about a few of the main stories that are relevant to coercion today, and also on the video conference. We're still running that every weekend. It's going to be moved to Sunday at 10 o'clock. That'll be on from next Sunday, not tomorrow. Now, just real quick, that next Sunday will be the, what's that going to be, the 8th? Okay, 8th of May. So jump on, the link's on our page. This week, the video conference, we didn't get anyone on this week. Last week, or the week before, sorry, was a major success. We had some new coordinators put their hands up. So that was great news to hear. We're about to open up a UK branch. We've got a great guy in the UK who's going to set that up. We've got a Cairns branch opening up in Australia. I'll be looking to get more people involved in the US, and that's a key country, obviously, the United States. And I'll put some more videos out about what we're doing, so you guys can have a look at that. Now, going back to the news, I've put a few notes here. I think the main story really that's, I guess, a focus is the United States. They've just stated that they've got 100 million people vaccinated, and the main focus for me is they're now saying that those who are vaccinated can start returning to normal. They don't have to wear masks. They don't have to follow the normal restrictions, which is ludicrous when you really dice that down and understand that they're actually carrying a virus now, but they don't have to wear masks. And there's a lot of confusion happening right now, and this is their tactic. Okay, so we've been talking about this the whole time. Their programs, and they go through every different program the same way. Voluntary, with a sweet marketing campaign using psychology, then they go to coercion, then they go to mandatory. Okay, think about how they ran the masks, how they ran the testing, and this how they're running the vaccine. And we had a member come up the other day, and she said to me, well, not to me directly, actually, so out of respect I won't mention the particular member, but in the chat she was saying something along the lines of, it's just too much confusion, and this vaccine isn't killing anyone like people said it would. There's so many different theories out there. Some people have the theory that everyone's going to be exterminated from the vaccine. Some people say something else, and it's all conspiracy theory. That's what she's come back with, and said she's just too overwhelmed and too confused, and she wants to travel overseas to see her family, and so she feels like she might just take the vaccine. Okay, but this is exactly how they've worked it. Alright, so they've worked it so that A, you'll get confused, and B, you'll get coerced into taking the vaccine. What I'll say, and what I did say to her, and I'll say it again, is yes, there are some theories now on connecting the dots, but there are facts, and those facts are undeniable. And what I'm going to say is, if the beginning stinks, the rest stinks. Okay, so that's what I'm going off for myself personally. Facts, evidence. Okay, I'm not going off some conspiracy theory. Okay, we're going off facts. We've got a team that puts facts together. That's our information team. I've been looking at facts from day one, and the first fact is that the pandemic is not a naturally occurring pandemic. So you've really got to keep that in mind and then go, well, does the vaccine make sense? So the facts are there. It's a orchestrated event, the pandemic. You can look at things like Event 201, which was you might say a coincidence that they ran a simulation of COVID-19 a couple of months before COVID-19 came out. But then there are actually some solid facts of, Fauci, his involvement in the lab in Wuhan. The number one fact is the PCR test is not a genuine test to test for anything. Okay, it's simply an amplification process, and that is coming from the mouth of Kerry Mullins, who created the test, who happened to also die right before COVID from pneumonia. Okay, you can put some theories around that, but that's theory, but that's a fact. Okay, PCR test is an amplification process. The second smoking gun is really simple. In 2020, when they were telling us the pandemic is the most deadly pandemic we've seen, the death rate did not change. Marginally, there were some marginal changes, but there was no significant change in any country, including Sweden, that did not enforce lockdowns or social distancing measures. They said, if you want to do it, do it. No change that was significant in death rates, okay, in 2020. So you've really got to keep that in mind. If the beginning stinks, the rest stinks. Now, here's other facts that we can look at. Okay, now we've got the Great Reset you can look at. That's a fact. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to say about the Great Reset is you've got to be incredibly gullible to believe that they managed to create a brand new world economic, social, and political system in the space of 4 months. Okay. You couldn't even plan a new business if it was a large business in that time. So there's no way that the story behind the Great Reset was true, that they basically realized that the pandemic's given them an opportunity to create a better world, etc. That's been a plan for a long time. Okay, it ties into Agenda 21, which has now become Agenda 30. Those are facts, okay, and now let's dissect the Great Reset. And these are facts that are coming out of the Great Reset, that they expect the world that we live in post 2030 will be one in which they can read our thoughts, our feelings, and our dreams. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, that's written on their website. Another fact is they are looking to have a world in which people do not own anything. And you will like it. That is written on their website. Go look at it. Okay, go look at it. So those are facts, pure facts. Okay, those are not theories. So don't get confused. Okay, now when we talk about the predictions people are making, okay, yes, there are some theories now, because what people are trying to do is connect the dots between the facts. Okay, these are facts. Another fact you can go and look up is something called stakeholder capitalism, which is on the Great Reset website. Sorry, the World Economic Forum. Now, one thing to remember is the World Economic Forum are the ones behind the Great Reset. This is not some no-name body who aren't important. These guys are the people who set policy for the world, for the entire world, right? This is coming from these people. It's not some random theory. Now, the Great Reset, they talk about stakeholder capitalism, which is essentially a nice trick to trick you into thinking communism is good. Okay, it's not capitalism in any way. If you dissect it, I'll give you a quick summary today. I'll do another video on that. Stakeholder capitalism, as purported by the World Economic Forum, is what they want to bring in, which essentially they have stated this. It will involve it will involve companies being run by the stakeholders, and the stakeholders they suggest should be the public, and their reasoning behind that is that the public have a lot of interest in how companies behave, as their behaviors impact the whole world and environment, etc. Okay, so what does the public mean? Okay, public means government. Now, that's what's coming. Okay, so these are genuine facts. These are genuine concerns. I could run through a whole range of them, but we have the facts around the pandemic, okay, being orchestrated. So this for me tells me that if the beginning stinks, the rest stinks. Okay, so no matter what furry, fuzzy, warm stories they tell you, and they will tell you some, and then they'll give you some tough, cold, stories. That's what their plan is. Don't get suckered in. Don't get suckered in. Okay, I will not be taking this vaccine because the beginning stinks. It's really that simple. Okay, and if anyone wants to open their eyes and look at it, those are facts. And we've got, like I said, a lot of reports that we're putting together on those facts. Okay, now I've taken, I think I took a vaccine when I went overseas for hepatitis or something like that. I've not been someone that's been enormously involved in anti-vax campaigns. But for me, it was clear as day. The whole thing didn't make any sense. Okay, so don't get confused. So this is why I won't be taking the vaccine. Okay, no matter what story they tell me, it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. Okay, that's bottom line. We're looking at facts. So now when we talk about the theories around the vaccine, okay, yeah, so of course there's some theories now, and some of them are, I guess, people, it's more than theories, people actually, it's not guesswork, people are connecting the dots. So if you look at these kind of things, like what they're talking about now, there's other things that are facts that Bill Gates, who essentially is now the World Health Guru, somehow, he's outright said, well, we need to lower the population of the world. Agenda 30 has a big focus on population control. So this is where people are connecting the dots, and you do have a lot of medical experts coming out as well, talking about the vaccine. You've got the ex-vice president of Pfizer. He's a doctor. What's his name? Go Google it yourselves, guys. It's not coming to my mind. Google ex-Pfizer vice president. Now he's basically come out and said this vaccine is a scam. This guy's a doctor. We're not talking no-name people. We've got thousands of doctors around the world opposing the vaccine and calling out the virus scam. Okay, these are doctors. These are people that have no real reason to come and lie. They're putting their careers at stake, and people are losing their jobs and their livelihoods to come out and say these things. There's some amazing doctors out there talking about it. But they can't put their finger on it. So put your finger on the vaccine is very hard. Okay, me myself personally, I've never believed this vaccine would result in immediate deaths in large numbers, as some people have believed. Because I look at strategy, and for me the strategy would be ludicrous from their end. It wouldn't make sense from their end. It wouldn't help with their objectives, because if they did do something, if something like that happened, where people died, en masse after taking the vaccine very shortly, there'd be an uprising straight away. Okay, so for me, I never thought that was going to ever happen. Now I know there's some stories about people having adverse effects and deaths, but they're not in the numbers that people thought. And this is what our member was talking about. She was basically saying, well, people aren't dying en masse, so maybe I should just take the vaccine. I want to go and visit my family overseas, and that's the coercion. So don't get sucked into it. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're sucking us into it now. Going back again, talking about what are they doing with the vaccine. Like I said, very hard to finger point, to put your finger on it. But what I will say is, you've got to connect the dots. So this is what I feel the vaccine's about. It's about control. First, it's about psychological control, getting people to follow orders. But I also believe, if you look at, again, the Great Reset, the evidence is there. They expect to be able to read your thoughts, your mind. When we've got people like Elon Musk out there talking about, he's made a statement saying that we must merge with AI, we must connect to the internet. That's what I personally believe is happening with the vaccine. It might not be on the first round, but I think down the track at some point, it may be on the first round, it may well be, but I think it could happen at some point where you're essentially will have something inside your body that will enable you to connect to the internet. Okay, and they'll probably use the whole convenience factor and say this is going to be more convenient rather than showing your digital pass. That's what I think the vaccine is about. Okay, it doesn't matter because bottom line is, if the beginning stinks, the rest stinks. So that's your bottom line. Okay, and don't get fooled. Don't get suckered in. If the beginning stinks, the rest stinks, and they'll make it more and more plausible. Okay, that's how they'll run things. But that's the coercion. So if you want to go visit your family overseas, that's part of the coercion. Okay, you can't do it unless you take your vaccine. Unvaccinated people can take their masks off and have freedom. That's part of the coercion. Okay, now talking about, I guess, some of the other things they may be doing with the vaccine, potentially, I believe, this is again just my belief, infertility. Okay, and that's based on facts that I've seen. So this is what we're talking about, connecting dots here a little bit. Facts are very simple, that the predictions made by some of the key health authorities and people like Bill Gates are that in the future children will be produced by test tube. Okay, so they'll be able to control the population in that way, part of Agenda 30. Right, so I just want to really address this issue of people calling out, well, people said this and people said that. Yeah, there's some really ludicrous theories out there, and they're actually detrimental to the freedom movement, because people are making some really ludicrous statements. And I mean, Q was a good example of that. Some of the stuff coming out of Q was just ridiculous, and it's really detrimental because it really puts the whole freedom movement into disrepute. So I'd probably say don't make ridiculous statements to those who are, but connect the dots. Now, just a note on that. We have the facts, okay, and it's just like a sporting match. If you're in a sporting match, you don't know exactly what the other team's going to do, right? You have a good coach, and the coach will sit down, study the plays, study their previous matches, and try to understand their strategies, and then make predictions. That's all they can do, okay? And that's where we're at now in a movement, but that relates to another point, that you need a good coach. But that's where we're at. So don't get confused and don't get thrown off if somebody made a prediction that wasn't 100% right, because that's what we're in now. We're in a match, okay? And where right now we can see this is what their end plan is, because the Great Reset is a fact. Okay, it's up there in black and white. Okay, they want to bring in a socialist type system with control, where they can read your mind. Okay, not to mention that people won't own anything. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, so we have facts, and then we are connecting dots in between, as you would in any match that you're in. Okay, so don't get thrown off by that. Just really don't get thrown off by that. Now, in terms of, I guess, the coercion, that is going to keep escalating. Now, the United States is miles ahead, with what they're doing. I think the voluntary phase, they've already run that quite well. They're starting to move deeply into the coercion phase. A lot of companies are trying to exclude employment for those who are unvaccinated. It's going to come around the whole world. Australia, we haven't had that yet. The UK are well ahead as well. Israel is well and truly ahead now with what they're doing with their coercion. You can't get out without your app confirming that you've had your vaccine. Okay, so the coercion is increasing and increasing. Don't get suckered in. Stick to your morals, stick to your values. That's what we're trying to do here with this group. We're creating a network. We have local branches forming where you'll have the support to stay true to yourself, stay true to your values. Okay, don't get suckered in. Other things they're going to do. Look at India right now. Okay, so this is something we predicted very early on as well. A deadly virus will come out eventually. Okay, is that a real virus? Is that coming from the vaccine? Okay, so this is the stuff where people get thrown off and go, oh, well, someone says this theory, someone says that theory. It has been said from a long time ago from people within the freedom movement, and that's based on words coming out of people like Bill Gates and Fauci, where they've essentially said a dangerous, real, deadly, more deadly virus will come out eventually. How do they know that? How they predicted that? Okay, because sometimes a virus comes and then it'll just go away, and then sometimes it might mutate. But these guys were sure of it. So I'm pretty sure that they will use that tactic because that's their strategy. So everything we do, we look at strategy and we look at their end goal. Okay, so if they can't convince people of this fake or less deadly, whatever virus COVID is right now, then they will release a more deadly one. If not, the vaccine may be producing that already. If you think about what's going on with the vaccine, this is not like other vaccines. A normal vaccine, you get a little part of the virus put into your body through the vaccine, and then your body will create immune responses in the small part of the virus. That's how previous vaccines have worked. This is an RNA vaccine, so they're doing it differently. The RNA vaccine, they're not putting an actual virus in you. Interesting. Maybe they don't have the part of the virus to put in you, but they're not doing it like that. This vaccine will simulate inside your body the conditions to make your body create the virus, the coronavirus. Okay, so that's how this one works. But what that essentially means is people are going to be walking around with a virus. Okay, now their theory is it's not going to be a dangerous virus, but you know, when you look at people having been vaccinated and then being very sick for several days, to me it says that they're carrying the virus. And now they're saying take your mask off once you're vaccinated, spread your virus. Okay, either way, a deadly virus will come, I believe, and from that they will again sucker everyone into it, and people will then start really believing, yes, it's all true, it's all true. Okay, stick to your guns. The beginning stinks, the rest stinks. The evidence is there. Okay, the pandemic's orchestrated. So, you know, like I said, that's how they run a trap. Okay, I want you guys to think about like a tunnel, and it's getting narrower and narrower, and at some point you'll just get stuck in it if you're not prepared. Okay, so I'm preparing myself for everything that's ahead. Like I said, I will not be taking this vaccine under any circumstance, and I'm preparing myself mentally and physical preparations. So mentally it means you've got to have a strong mind to be able to resist and to be tough, but physically means, you know, you've got to look at the coercive measures they bring in, and you've got to be prepared for that, or you'll take the vaccine. It's really that simple, okay, if you're not prepared. So I'll make a whole nother video on how you can get prepared to, you know, handle the coercion, and if it goes mandatory, which is to me a strong likelihood, and they'll use some sweet marketing on that as well, and convince the population that eventually that the unvaccinated are the threat, when it's actually the other way around. You know, so yeah, so you've got to be prepared for that tunnel that's closing and closing, because that's how they run it. Okay, now just think about the basics you need. I'll make a whole other video on that, but you'll need to be prepared. So if you can't work, well, you need to be prepared to live. And if you can't get social benefits, social welfare benefits, then again you need to be prepared for that. So you need the resources to be able to sustain yourself. So just have a good think about what they might be: food, water, shelter, etc. Okay, we'll do a whole lot of videos around those things as well, but my main point today is just don't get confused. Alright, don't give up on what you believe. The facts are the facts. There's evidence there around this whole pandemic. There's been big names coming out talking about it, doctors, you know, lawyers. We're not talking about nuffs here. You know, I've got a good career and I earn pretty good money, and you know, for me, I could easily just do that and forget about it. But you know, I'm going to stick with my my beliefs, my morals, and I'm looking at logic, and it just doesn't add up. Okay, it just doesn't add up. None of it adds up. I mean, if someone's vaccinated, then what are they worried about if I'm not vaccinated? I know. Then they say, oh no, but we've got to create herd immunity, and that's all bullshit, because they've redesigned science. Herd immunity is not from vaccinations; it's from people letting the virus run through the population. Okay, and they've changed that. Science is being changed all the time at the moment, and people are believing that because they're like, monkeys who can read a book and memorize it. Okay, that doesn't mean you're intelligent. So for anyone out there, I know we're going to get some people come in to comment on this video. Oh, but I'm a scientist. I'm a scientist. Yeah, no, you're a monkey who memorized a book. Use your brain. Start thinking for yourself. Okay, the logic's there. None of it adds up. I mean, from the very beginning, none of it added up. I was just on a flight coming back from Cairns to Brisbane, and you know, just think about the logic here. You have to wear your mask on the plane, right? But you can take it off when you eat food. Ah, okay. Virus is not spreading there at all. No spread. All right. Okay. So then the theory would be no, but we're minimizing the amount of time the virus can leak from your mouth. Blah, blah, blah. Well, firstly, you know, I mean, that might be true, but if it's a deadly virus, like what they're saying it is, then you wouldn't even take that chance. You just cancel the flight. Now, the other thing I guess you can look at is where all the biohazard bins. There's a million facts that people have collated, and we are collating that. That's why we have an information team that's collating all of that. We've got detailed reports. Okay, don't get suckered in. Okay, they're trying to make everyone feel like, the world can return to normal now, the new normal, right? Where we can track and trace everyone 24/7. Okay, what does that have to do with the virus? Okay, really, just keep thinking for yourself. Okay, I don't care if you've got a science degree. Why on earth? I'll tell you now. At the beginning of this whole thing, I remember the first lockdown here. You had to go into the supermarket, right, to get your food. You had to social distance, and they had lines and all that sort of stuff. We weren't wearing masks, I think, up here in Queensland, but some states were. And people pick up products from the shelf, you know, they look at it, they touch it, they put it back. Come on. There's a million of those facts that you can look at. There's just too many of them. There's actual good evidence that this was manufactured in China and released through the world. Okay, and you just look at the propaganda there. I'll do another video on China because I think a lot of people are confused around that as well. But yeah, okay guys, don't get suckered in. Alright, stick to your guns, spread our message, and let's get people connected up so we got support. Okay, if anyone has a feedback you'd like to put forward, comments, please do so on the video. And if you like the content that's coming out, please hit the like button and subscribe, because I'm going to send out a whole series of videos. Next one I think we'll do is we'll cover, I guess, what we can be doing to prepare ourselves. Okay guys, take care out there, and hopefully I'll see a lot of people come on to our video conference next weekend, Sunday. Thanks guys.